a visit to that hellish courthouse that built by John McCain. Let's get right back into it. Now, a visit to McCain's courthouse and police station in the heart of West Brighton at West 8th Street was like a visit to hell, much more so than the Hellgate in Dreamland or the classic ride, the Hellhole. The walls were vomit green, and throngs of loud, bickering, and smelly people, remember it's the summer, would cram into the small waiting area. Now, at the front desk, you would be greeted by a sweaty police officer with a weary gaze, his mustache sagging in the heat, while his forearms cradled a ledger book. You had to speak loudly in order to be heard. After speaking with the sweaty sergeant, a person had to sit and wait till an officer was ready to take a statement. Now, in the thick of the waiting area, there was all of 3 chairs, and they were usually occupied by sweating people who were ready to fight to the death in order to hang on to those chairs. It was an incredibly foul and hot room, hotter than hell, some would often say. The only open spaces available were next to the grimy windows, and if you were lucky, there might be a faint puff or hint of a breeze. Now, past the waiting desk was a small room without a single window. There's no windows, which was incredibly hot in the summer. A small table was standing at the center of the room, with 2 chairs facing the door and 1 chair opposite the table. This was the, interrogation room. If you were unlucky enough to be there, an individual would be greeted by a thick-knuckled Coney Island copper, a cop filled to the brim of his soul with an overwhelming bull-headed sourness. The questions came first as the copper shifts in his chair. Now, the victim or individual enduring the interrogation is now virtually dripping with perspiration, and it becomes difficult for him or her to concentrate. The police officer is used to it. He's used to this stifling heat and is not the least bit discomforted. His line of questioning fills you with anger and resentment as the cop asks filthy and demeaning questions, and no respect at all is given to anyone. Things haven't changed much, have they? The questions fly out of his mouth as the cop ruffles papers and opens and closes his brown file book. The police are constantly on the move and wander in and out of the interrogation room. You begin to hate the furniture and study its surfaces. The table is loaded with scratches and cigarette burns, and the furniture gives off an unholy, cheap polish smell. Your sense of time begins to evaporate, and you can no longer function at your best. And you sit there fuming as the anger within you, the anger and disgust begins to grow and grow. You soon find out that you are locked in and hear voices outside the door. And you can almost make out the words, but not quite. You feel a sickening sense of fear. And deep down in your soul, you know the police want to frighten you into submission. After all, that's their job. The cops get louder and louder, speaking in tones that make it clear to you that they are accustomed to being obeyed. The cops study people for an uncomfortably long time and heave sigh after sigh while they drum their fingers on the table. This is a practiced presentation, designed to get results and convictions. Now, suddenly, Other policemen in the corridor open and close the doorways to nearby offices. And you can now hear everything that is being said. Strange sounds. The grunts and groans of pain fill your ears, followed by high-pitched laughter. Someone is being beaten, hit again and again with a rubber hose or a leather strap, the classic blackjack, or lead-filled smacked gloves. They often used stuff like this. Now, suddenly, you hear the door slamming shut. Slam. You have been lucky this time. The door swings open, and you are allowed to leave. But the only way out is past the front desk and through the congested waiting area, and the only door leading to the street. Now, as you exit, you suddenly see a suspect. His eyes are ringed in red. His skin is white as chalk, and his face is damp with sweat. His nose and chin are swollen lumps of flesh. The Coney Island police are skillful at working a suspect over, and pummeling a person is simply a part of the interview or interrogation, simply a part of the job. Immigrants, the working poor, and union and political activists expect to be mistreated. Sadness, anger, and violence is a fact of life for them. Now, despite the beating, the suspect's eyes, well, they have a sense of tragic serenity, and you can't help but admire him. His eyes are also still filled with hope, even though deep down in his soul, despite all the claims to liberty, America is virtually no different than Europe. In Europe, there is no hope at all. The poor and working classes cannot move up the ladder. But in America, hope lives, but only for a few. Working hard, great effort is simply not enough. You must also have luck, a precious commodity that the suspect at the moment does not have. Now, not everyone was in the pocket of the Coney Island Chief of Police and the Grand Poobah of Gravesend, John Y. McCain. He had secret opposition, and both the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office and state authorities did try to bring him down. Now, George Tillahue, who is then 25 years old, and along with his father is the owner and operator of the Tillahue Surf House,